Hello mathematicians, let's revise the 2023 paper, that is paper 1 for mathematics. Right, let's start with question 111. Solve for x. Right, this is a quadratic equation. The good thing about this equation is that it is already in standard form. So we just have to factorize this and find our answers. Right, so if x squared plus x minus 12 is equal to 0, so what do? We look for the factors of negative 12 that will give us positive 1, the coefficient of x, when we add them. Right. Let's look at the factors of 12. 1 will go with 12, 2 will go with 6, 3 will go with 4. So which factors can give us a 1 here? Right, it's these two. Right, so negative 12 means that one factor is negative and then the other factor is positive. And then this positive 1 here for the coefficient of x will mean the bigger factor is the one which is positive. So it means this should be positive 4, and then this one is negative 3. Okay, so then you have your brackets, x minus 3, x plus 4 is equal to 0. Therefore, x minus 3 is equal to 0, or x plus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, therefore, x is equal to 3, or x is equal to negative 4. There's another way of doing this. Let me just show you, in case maybe you've done this method in the class. Let me show you. What you do, you split the first term, like x squared, into its factors, and the last term into its factors. So x squared, we can split it into x times x. Right, the last term now, we must split it into its factors, like we can have 1 and 12. But now we must write it as 1 and 12 and also as 12 and 1, like this. Okay, then 2 and 6, 6 and 2, like that. Then 3 and 4, and 4 and 3, like that. Okay, and then we look for the factors that can give you a 1 after you cross multiply. Let me just check here. We have to do inspection for all of this, but let me check. Like if we say x times 3, we get 3x. X times 4, we get 4x. If we have this and this, we can get a 1 from this. Let's just write it like this nicely here. So it's x and then 3 and 4. In order to do cross multiply, we cross multiply. Then 3 times x, that is 3x. Then 4 times x, that is 4x. And then what do we do to get 1 here? This must be negative 3. This one must be positive 4. Negative 3x plus 4x, that is 1x. So it means then this factor, since this one is negative 3, this one must be negative. This one is positive 4, this one must be positive. Then these are your factors. Just have your x minus 3, then x plus 4. That's another way. Okay, right. But this is just the same as this. And then from there you continue and get your x is equal to 3, or your x is equal to negative 4. How do we get our marks here? This is 3 marks. So we get the marks for the factors and then the marks for the two answers. Okay, that is 3 marks. Let's do question 112. We are given 3x squared minus 2x is equal to 6. And then we are solving for x. Answer correct to 2 decimal places. So here we have to use the quadratic formula. Okay, we have to use the quadratic formula, but we have to write our equation in standard form first. Right, it's going to be 3x squared minus 2x minus 6 is equal to 0. Right, so we have our a is equal to 3, b is equal to negative 2, then our c is equal to negative 6, and the formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all this over 2a. Right, and then what do we do? Substitute, then is equal to negative, our b is negative 2, so it's negative 2, then plus or minus the square root of b squared, negative 2 squared minus 4, then our a is 3, then our c is negative 6. All is over 2 times 3. And then there's no need to do a lot of things here, just use your calculator. This is how you do this in the calculator. Press the fraction function like this. We have negative and then negative 2, then plus. Let's start with plus, then square root, then we have negative 2 squared, then minus 4, now our a is 3, c, and then negative 6, right? And then go to the denominator, then 2, then 3, that's a, then equals. Then you can press SD here to write to see your answer is a fraction, right? That is 1,786, so it's going to be 1,79. Then you want to get the second answer, you go back, don't need to delete anything, just go back, and then change this to minus, and then equals, then press SD, you can find your second answer. So it's negative 1,119 something, so it's going to be negative 1,12. Okay, then our answers are x is equal to 1,79 or x is equal to negative 1,12. How do we get our marks here? The standard form. Writing the equation in standard form, then substituting correctly in the correct formula, and then your two answers. We have our 4 marks. Question 113. Let's solve for x. This is a third equation. We have to isolate the square root first. So it's already isolated. That's a good thing. And then what do we do after that? Square both sides. 2x plus 1 squared is equal to x minus 1 squared. Then square root and the square, they cancel each other. We remain 2x plus 1 is equal to x minus 1 squared. X minus 1 squared is like x minus 1 times x minus 1. Okay. Right, you can use the FOIL method the longer way. X minus 1, x minus 1. Then x times x times negative 1, negative 1 times x, negative 1 times negative 1. But there's a faster way of doing this. Okay. You just say x, you square the x, you get x squared. And then you say 2 times x times negative 1, you get negative 2x. And then you square the negative 1, you get positive 1. Okay, so even if you use the FOIL method here, at the end you will get this, x squared minus 2x plus 1. So you choose the method that you prefer here. Right, let's have this in standard form. So 0 is equal to x squared, then negative 2x. If you transpose, this is going to be negative 2x. So it's going to be negative 2x minus 2x, which is negative 4x. And then if you transpose, positive 1 is going to be minus 1. So negative, so it's going to be 1 minus 1, which is 0. So we remain with this. And then here we can factorize. 0 is equal to x, then x minus 4. So you see that x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 4. Right, every time we're dealing with the third equation, we have to check our answers. So let's substitute. Where there is x, let's put 0. What do we get? 2 times 0 plus 1 is equal to 0 minus 1. Then this gives us 1 is equal not, they are not equal. So it means 0 is not applicable. Let's check 4. So square root of 2 times 4 plus 1 is equal to 4 minus 1. This is like 9 is equal to 4 minus 1. Like 3 is equal to 3. So this is fine. So our answer, x is equal to 4. How do we get our marks here? We have this part, squaring both sides. We have our standard form. We have the two answers, x equal to 0 and x equal to 4. And then we have the valid answer, x is equal to 4, which is 4 marks. Let's do 114. X squared minus 3 greater than 2x. This is a quadratic inequality. Let's write it in standard form. So it's x squared minus 2x minus 3 greater than 0. Right. So what we do here, we factorize. We have to factorize. So we look for the factors of negative 3. That will give us negative 2. Negative 3 means that one factor is positive, the other factor is negative. And the negative 2, that will mean that the bigger factor is negative. So 3, we have 1 and 3. So it means the bigger factor must be negative, and then the smaller factor must be positive. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. So these are the factors we're looking for. So we have x plus 1, and then x minus 3 greater than 0. Okay. Like the other method, split the first one, the x squared, into x and x. Split the 3, 3 and 1. Then cross multiply. It becomes 3x and then x. Then to get negative 2, this must be negative 3, this must be positive x. And then this must be negative, this must be positive. So it becomes x plus 1, x minus 3. That's another method. Right? And then now, what are we getting here? We're not getting the solution, but we're getting the critical values. Critical values. So the critical values will be x is equal to negative 1 or x is equal to 3. Right? So what is the answer? What is the solution here? Right? This is a parabola. This is parabolic. So it means it is like this. And then this is the line y is equal to 0. Right? And then you're saying our critical value here is negative 1. And then here is 3. So we're saying where is the graph greater than 0, above the x-axis? This is the x-axis. Where is the graph above the x-axis? The graph is above the x-axis from here. So basically from this side going to the left, that's where the graph is above the x-axis. You can see this part and also this part. The graph is above the x-axis. So going to the right. So it's either x is less than negative 1, okay, or x is greater than 3. See that? Okay, so that's your solution there. And then x less than negative 1 or x greater than 3. Just remember that when it is greater than, okay, when it is greater than like this, your x is going to be less than the smaller critical value, but greater than the bigger critical value. Okay, sometimes I even do this. I write the x, then I write this as it is. This is the smaller critical value, the bigger critical value. Then I rearrange this. Okay, we don't want to see this. We do it by the side, then rearrange this. This means x less than negative 1. If you read going this way, x less than negative 1, then you write it like this, or x greater than 3, you write it like this. Okay, right. And then if it's less than, let's say if it was less than, let's say if it was x squared minus 3 minus 2x minus 3 less than 0, your solution was going to be like what? You just write your x and then take this inequality sign, less than, less than. Write your smaller critical value to this side, your bigger critical value to this side. For less than is easy, it's just an interval. Then that was going to be your solution. Right? How do we get our marks here? We have the standard form, and then we have the critical values, and then we have the solution. 4 marks. Now let's do question 1.2. We have the first equation, x plus 2 is equal to 2y. Let's call it equation 1. And then we have 1 over x plus 1 over y is equal to 1. Let's call it equation 2. Right. So how do we deal with this? We can start by dealing with equation 2 and eliminate the denominators. How do we eliminate the denominators? We can multiply everything by the LCD here. The LCD is equal to xy. So we multiply 1 over x by times xy. then plus 1 over y times xy, we multiply everything by xy, is equal to 1 times xy. Okay, then what do we get? X divided by x is 1, y divided by y is 1. So we remain with y plus x is equal to xy. It's still equation 2. Let's write equation 2. It's still equation 2. We just rearranged it. Right. So now from equation 1, from 1 we can isolate x. We can isolate y, but y is going to create fractions for us. So let's isolate x. And then x is equal to 2y minus 2. That's equation 3. From what? From equation 1. Now we can substitute equation 3 into equation 2. So let's say 3 into 2. Equation 3 into equation 2. Where there's x, we put 2y minus 2. Let's do it this side. So it's y plus 2y minus 2 is equal to y times 2y minus 2. Okay, then let's remove the bracket. Y plus 2y minus 2 is equal to 2y squared minus 2y. Right. Let's get our standard form. 0 is equal to 2y squared. Negative 2y minus 2. If we transpose this, it's going to be negative 4y minus y is going to be negative 5y. Right, we transpose negative 2 becomes plus 2. So this is our standard form. Now we have to factorize this. Okay, you can use the quadratic formula if you want, but factorization will be faster. So we say 2y squared times 2, we get 4y squared. Right? Then what do? We look for the factors of 4y squared that can give us negative 5y. Right? So 4y squared is positive. So both factors must have the same sign. It can be negative, negative, or positive, positive. But negative 5 confirms that it should be negative, negative. So it should be negative 4y and negative 1y. Okay? Negative 4y times negative 1y is positive 4y squared. But negative 4y minus y is negative 5y. Sometimes we just do without putting the y's. Just deal with the factors without putting the y's, just the numbers. Right? So what we do now, we replace this negative 5y with negative 4y and negative y. So it becomes 0 is equal to 2y squared minus 4y minus y plus 2. Right? And then what do? We factorize by grouping in pairs. Factorize this pair, factorize this pair. So it's going to be 0 is equal to 2y. I factored out 2y here, and then we remain with y minus 2. And then here I factor out negative 1, so that I have a common bracket, and then we have y minus 2. So 0 is equal to, we have a common bracket here, we can factor it out, y minus 2, and then the second bracket we have 2y minus 1, 2y minus 1. Right. And then so it means that y is equal to 2, or y is equal to 1 over 2 from these two. Okay, so we have the values of y. Let me show you the other method for factorizing this. This other method that I've been doing, we can split 2y squared into 2y and y. And then we look at the last term. What is it? The last term here is 2. So it's this part. The last term is 2. So 2 we can split it into 1 and 2, or 2, 1. Right. Then you cross multiply. So if I say y times 1, I get y. 2y times 2, I get 4y. So this combination can give me 5y. But let's check the other combination. If I say 2y times 1, I get 2y. Y times 2, I get 2y. Then 2y and 2y will give us 4y. So this one is out. So we're taking these two. 2y, y, and then 1, 2. Cross multiply. Y times 1, that is y. Then 2y times 2, that is 4y. And then we want to get negative 5. So it can be negative y, negative 4, negative y, negative 4y, which is negative 5y. So now if it's negative, this must be negative, this must be negative. So that's why we have this bracket, 2y minus 1 and y minus 2, like that. Okay. Right, so now we have the values of y. We can find the values of x. Let's use equation 3 to find the values of x. Right, if y is equal to 2, so we're going to have x is equal to 2 times 2 minus 2. Then 2 times 2 minus 2, what is it? 2 times 2 is 4, minus 2 is 2, so x is equal to 2. Right, and then if y is equal to 1 over 2, with x is equal to 2 times 1 over 2 minus 2. 2 times half is 1. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. X is equal to negative 1. X is equal to negative 1 there. Okay, so we have the values of y, we have the values of x. Right, how do we collect our marks here? Right, we have our equation 3. We substituted correctly. What did we substitute here? And then we have our standard form. This is our standard form. And then we have the y values. We have the x values. 5 marks. Alright, let's do question 1-3. 2 to the power m plus 1 plus 2 to the power m is equal to 3 to the power n plus 2 minus 3 to the power n. Where m and n are integers, then determine the values of m plus n. So what does that mean? We have to find the value of m, then find the value of n, and then we add them. Okay, what can we do to this? We can split the powers here. Remember the laws of exponents. When multiplying powers with the same base, we add the exponents. So remember this law, x times a times x to the power b, x to the power a times x to the power b is equal to x to the power a plus b. So when you're moving from this form to this form, we're saying we're splitting the powers, or we're splitting the power. So let's split this power here. It's going to be 2 to the power m times 2 to the power 1 plus 2 to the power m. Right. Most of the times when you see this, you just remember you have to split the power and factorize. Right, is equal to 3 to the power n times 3 to the power 2 minus 3 to the power n. Right, we have a common factor here which is 2 to the power m. We have a common factor here which is 3 to the power n. So we have 2 to the power m. Let's factor it out. We remain with 2 plus 1. Right, and then from 2 to the power m divided by 2 to the power m, we get 1 is equal to 3 to the power n, and then we get 3 squared minus 1. We factorize there, which is 2 to the power m, and then 3, then is equal to 3 to the power n, then 9 minus 1 is 8, right? If you check here, we have 2 to the power m times 3 to the power 1 is equal to 3 to the power n times 2 to the power 3. So these things are equal, meaning that this 3 to the power 1 must be equal to 3 to the power n. And then 2 to the power m must be equal to 2 to the power 3. Okay, you see that from this you can deduce and say 2 to the power m is equal to 2 to the power 3, then 3 to the power 1 is equal to 3 to the power n. Okay, so therefore 3 to the power 1 is equal to 3 to the power n, and 2 to the power m is equal to 2 to the power 3. Right, therefore 1 is equal to n, and m is equal to 3. Therefore, m plus n is equal to 3 plus 1, which is equal to 4.